Hey, how's it
Hey.
going?
Oh, ripping. Hey, happy Monday. Happy Monday.
I know, I was looking at my calendar. I was like, wait,
hmm
it's Monday only?
Yeah. It's
Already?
time for Kenzie. It's been our last
Early.
guest was Brett Huntley, and he reached out, and we have professional golfer Kenzie O'Connell on the line right now. She's going to join.
Woohoo!
Yes.
Yay, I'm super excited about this.
Yeah. So for those of you at home, I'll do a little summary, a little short summary, bio, if you will. Kenzie O'Connell, professional golfer, is one of 3.4 million people in the United States living with epilepsy. And I'm really curious to talk to her about being a professional athlete, right? Especially in a game where all about concentration. I'm going to ask about some pro tips here. Brought a golf club, an
Just,
advisor. Just saying. Just saying.
oh,
And though she's had her own tribulations while dealing with her condition, she is now using her platform to inspire others who are struggling with epilepsy and this brain disorder. And another side note, she's from Nebraska, Sydney, Nebraska. I wonder if she's a Cornhusker.
I wonder, that was just going through my
But
mind.
yeah, she'll learn. We're,
I,
we're big football people over here. So,
I
but
like
without
those
further,
Cornhuskers.
yeah, well, without any further ado, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the program, Kenzie O'Connell. Woo!
Woo!
Hi guys.
Hey,
Yay!
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited.
Welcome.
yeah,
Thanks for
Kenzie.
being on the show. This is fantastic.
Thank
Yeah,
you so
I'm so
much
fun.
for joining. So, from Sydney, Nebraska, are you still in Sydney, Nebraska?
No, I am not. I haven't been in
hmm
Sydney for some time now. I kind of bounced around after
hmm
I graduated high school and moved to different places all over. And now I am settled in Colorado.
Oh,
Oh,
nice.
Colorado, what city?
I kind of outside Fort Collins, Loveland area. My husband and I live out by Berthoud.
Okay.
I don't know if people know Berthoud very well.
No.
So I always say like Loveland, Fort Collins. And we're out on a golf course. So we really enjoy that.
Oh, of course, right. So you can
Yeah,
just play golf whenever. It's just right there in the backyard.
kinda. Yeah, in a way. We're very lucky.
Oh, that's awesome.
I
Well,
love that.
yeah. Well, you came to us through our dear friend Brett Huntley,
hmm
and we had spoken with him last time on Hazy Not Crazy, and you two actually share in common. You're both Steps Towards Zero ambassadors.
Yeah, I saw that he just jumped on with them. That's awesome.
Right?
Yeah,
We're super excited about that. Super,
Yeah,
yeah,
super excited.
yeah.
I
We're really
snooped on his
excited.
page earlier and I saw that he's on there. So,
Yeah, he's doing it, and he had a fun time, sharing his relationship with his sister Paris and how he's gotten involved.
hmm
And there were some really touching interviews that he did with Paris that I know he looks forward to sharing, and we all look forward to seeing. Um, I guess just to kind of start from sort of the beginning and what led you to that Steps Towards Zero campaign for everybody listening. That's it's an epilepsy awareness related campaign, right, Kenzie? If you and
True
so
rescue.
I guess that starts with kind of your own experience, sort of with epilepsy and seizures. So maybe we take it from there.
And just so you
yeah.
know, Kenzie, and I think you kind of got the background, but the whole, we're our podcast is totally unfiltered. Like say what you
Okay.
say, be who
Yes,
you
feel
Oh,
comfortable.
are.
I don't
I
know
Yes.
if you want to
mean,
tell me that.
be as
Yeah.
as unfiltered as you want to be, but that's we the whole idea is Nathan and I both have epilepsy, and
Yeah.
combined we've had it for a lot of almost 70 years, which is a
Oh,
long time.
wow. Yeah.
So we get it. And so the whole idea is, seizures are not filtered, epilepsy is not filtered, and so
Yeah.
neither will this podcast be. So go crazy. You're in great company, and everybody that listens to this podcast knows that and
Yeah,
really
totally.
appreciates that.
I
So
like
Yeah.
that. I like the comparison there because you're right. It's not filtered and it's like it sometimes just hits you out of nowhere and sometimes you're aware of
mhm,
it. Like it's not a filtered thing. So and
yeah,
life isn't filtered, so might as
no,
well not
not at
make
all.
this.
So go crazy, go for it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, hopefully you're prepared because I am a golfer
We
and
are.
you're around a lot of unfiltered stuff. So So where I
Yeah.
guess the question is, yeah. So I got involved with Steps Toward Zero because I actually originally had my own foundation, and it was called Fly for a Purpose. And I got the name. I actually designed the logo myself. I really love art. I'm really into art. It's really the only reason I graduated high school, to tell you the truth, because the only thing I could do that and lunch. Um, but I designed my own logo, and the name came to me because I always feel like this is me personally. I can't speak for everybody who has epilepsy, but I always felt like I was somewhat drowning when I was having seizures, and so therefore I really like birds just because they're in the air, they're flying, they're free, and it's the opposite of feeling like you're underwater. So I came up with Fly for a Purpose, and the bird is actually kind of in the shape of a K, and there's a circle around it for O, and that's my initials, KO. Well, and it actually is MO, but I always go by Kenzie, so kind of did that. And I think I was just very overwhelmed with my foundation. Um, I was in over my head. I didn't really know what I was doing at the time, and I had a very successful first year, and I raised I think $25,000, something like that, for my
Awesome.
first year, which was pretty great. Only had one
Great.
tournament, brought in some of my really good friends that are professional athletes. They helped me a lot, and it was awesome, but I just couldn't keep doing it. It was a full year of my time, my life, and I'm not rich enough to donate my time now. Like, I need to make income. So, but I still wanted to help people, and I really wanted to keep getting involved with spreading awareness and um, still working within the community and stuff like that. And I still work with the Epilepsy Foundation of America, and then they had gotten me in contact with SK Life. So kind of that whole migrated together, and I love their um, everything. I love what they do with Uber, and because I haven't drove for 5 years now, and just that almost brought tears to my eyes, just helping people get around from point A to point B, because that's just a huge part of my life. I have so much independence that I don't have on a day-to-day basis, and I love that they really help people that way, and just working with people's steps towards zero within who they are individually. Like, not everybody's steps towards zero is the same. So I really love that about them. And so, yeah, it's just been a really, really good partnership, I feel like. And I feel like they're kind of like my family at this point, because it's been, I think, the second year that I've worked with them. And so it's awesome.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
That's
So,
great.
so are you not
Will you?
driving now?
Oh, go for it.
No, I was just following up. Yeah. Do you have a license, or is that
So
completely?
I mean, I have a license, yeah,
Yeah.
but this last summer's been very challenging, I have to say. Um, I mean, long story short, I had a seizure that I'd never had before, and we had to call, well, not me, but my husband, called the paramedics, which my first thing I tell everybody, they're always like, what can we do if you have a seizure? I go, first thing, don't call 911. Like, whatever you do, just don't call 911, because it's an expensive ride to the emergency room
Mm.
that is unnecessary, because they can't do anything. Like, I already know I have epilepsy. And so that's what I like tell everybody, right? But this was a seizure that I understand why you called, because I never had it before, this type, and it was very scary. And so I'm kind of trying to figure out what's going on with some things right now.
Mm.
So I was doing really well. I was like 5 months of like seizure free, and that's the longest I've ever gone. And so I was like, things were looking up. We were looking at maybe getting a car, and I was like really excited. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it just kind of hit. So I'm kind of back to the beginning and everything. But we'll see how everything goes. I'm on
That's a
different
hard
med.
place to be,
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah. But
Because I know our viewers and listeners, if they haven't looked you up on, online or anything like that, um, or are following you as a Steps Towards Zero champion, can you tell us about your history with epilepsy? What kind you have, what kind of
yeah.
medicines you're taking, and what kind of seizures that you typically have? Or
Yeah, so mine are more prominent in dogs.
oh my gosh,
So,
I
What?
yeah.
love it.
No,
Woohoo!
dogs and I are like this. We're just very connected. Mine are called
That's the first time I've
vestibular.
ever heard anybody say that.
uh,
That's
That's
what
amazing.
yeah, I was like,
I love it.
that was one of the first things my first neurologist told me, and I was like, of course they are. Like, why wouldn't they be? Um, that's kind of
So,
like if you get to know me very well, it's like, yeah, that makes sense because that's you,
sure,
like in a nutshell.
sure.
Um, so mine are called vestibular seizure. They're vertigo induced seizures. So
Okay.
my triggers are kind of like, have you ever been in a car and the car next to you, you're parked, but the car next to you starts like backing up and you feel like you're moving?
Mhm, mhm.
Mm.
That's the kind of stuff that kind of like sets me off. It's like normally you would just press on the brakes and go, oh, wait, I'm not moving. Like that's just, but that would give me a seizure because I actually feel like I'm falling or I'm moving or something
Oh
like
wow.
that. But it just like sets me into like a seizure, which is kind of weird. Like I tell myself, I'm like trying to tell myself, like, you're fine, you're not moving, but I can't. So, um, tables, like wobbly tables, if like the water moves, um, I feel like I'm falling, so then I will fall. I don't know.
Do you know that it's happening? Do you know you're having seizures? Are you aware? Are they
Yes. Now,
conscious?
because my medication works so well, not so
Oh,
well, but it's working better that like now I know I'm having them. Before I wouldn't know. No, I was having like 6 to 7 a day at the beginning when it first started.
okay.
And it would be like just hit me out of nowhere. And I felt like it would always hit me on the right side, so I'd always fall to my left.
Sure.
Mm.
And it felt like somebody just came out of nowhere and just like pushed me over, and I just hit the ground. So it's kind of weird, but and then I have this thing called Todd's paralysis. So I mimic stroke-like symptoms, which I'm sure you guys are familiar with.
Mhm,
But
mhm.
um, and that's almost the worst part now because it can last so long, and I don't really snap out of it very quickly. But
How long does it last?
it depends on the seizure itself. So if it's bad, it can be, somewhere around. I mean, I've had one last like 30 hours.
Oh, wow.
Or it can be like, 2 hours. It just really depends on how bad the
Sure,
seizure is. So,
sure,
or it can be like 10 minutes, just, it really just varies. Um, I can be really
wow,
tired and sleepy and lethargic, and
sure.
I get very lost. I get super high anxiety and slur my
Oh yeah.
words. I've gotten kicked out of restaurants before because
Oh yeah.
they think I'm hammered.
Oh
Mhm.
really?
Yeah.
Nathan, that's happened to Nathan.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Well, I
I
don't know about that. I mean, I'm
that
sure
ha-
he's been kicked out of a restaurant because he's been hammered, but I know
Well, yeah,
there's
I mean,
he's had to, deal with that similar situation also.
yeah.
So,
yeah.
Just
Okay,
a
yeah.
different kind of situation.
Just a different kind. We did one of our guests, Matt Bonfiglio,
yep.
actually had the same exact story. He was asked to leave, and I think but Shannon and I have actually gone through similar experiences where people are so rush to judgment because the
Yeah.
symptoms can present themselves as exactly that. So,
Hmm.
God, what a tricky situation. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what scares me about
Yeah.
first responders too, and the general public. I mean, I think that's a big reason that kickstarted my kind of advocacy journey. You realize that what everybody else knows,
Hmm.
what they don't know, is going to directly impact how you are received and how you're cared for.
Hmm.
100%.
Like just waking up in random places. Do you have a story where it's just like a gnarly, just, a major theme we have with all of our guests is like you wake up and you just all of a sudden 8 hours 2 days later you're just in a different spot, whether it's a hospital and you have no recollection of it. It's just
In
crazy.
a alley in a dumpster or something. I don't know. I'm just kidding.
Okay. Yeah,
Mhm.
basically.
um, no, I don't have anything like that, but I do have. So this last one was crazy. I'm so happy that my husband was with me because it took me a full week, and I kept having some throughout the week too, which just added to it. But it lasted 5 minutes, and I was flailing, and like it was insane. And then people came out because we were actually at our club. We were at the restaurant, and alcohol doesn't affect me. Like it doesn't bother me to drink. I can have wine and stuff like that. Just doesn't. I think it's because I'm Irish.
That
Just kidding.
For
Um,
sure.
makes sense.
but it doesn't like really. I know that there's some people that can't drink because it really bothers them, but it doesn't do anything to me. And so, we were having a couple drinks. We left the club, and I mean, I don't remember anything. Like I just hit the ground, and things went dark, and I don't remember anything the rest of the night after that. And But there were some people coming out because I was screaming at the top of my lungs. So I'm sure they're like, what the heck kind of fight's going on, right? Like,
What is what is
yeah.
he doing?
What were
Or
you screaming? Did they tell you what you were screaming? Like,
My husband just said I was like, he's never heard a scream so loud in his life. Like, I screamed for like a solid 5 minutes and I was like pushing. He's like, it was almost like you were trying to push it out of your body, like push the
okay,
seizure.
so there wasn't words, just the loud
No,
scream.
just like
Okay.
screaming. Yeah. And I was like kicking and I woke up and I get my fingernails done and my fingernails broke all the way back to like
Ugh.
here. And I had like bruises and scrapes and I
Ooh.
was I was getting aggressive and but these people come
Ow.
out and they see me like on the ground, freaking out and he's like, she has epilepsy, like call 911. But I can only imagine what they were thinking, right? Like I'm on the
Yeah.
ground like pushing my husband away from me while he's holding my head off the ground. Like I
Oh
mean, who
man.
knows what goes through their head, right? I mean, so yeah, that kind of stuff. My one story, I guess, for weird was I went to Walmart by myself, and mirrors are a huge trigger for me, like really cheap, fun mirrors kind of thing. And I don't know if you've been in Walmart bathrooms, but they do not spend a lot of money on those things. Those are one things they don't splurge for. So, and they put the soap dispensers like in the mirrors. So when people push on it, it just like squishes in and makes like a weird, I don't know what exactly, ripple, I guess.
Mhm.
So I like was on the phone, I hung up, I turned the corner to go use the restroom and somebody used the soap dispenser right when I turned the corner and I just hit the ground, like just affected me so bad and had a seizure and I was like, okay, I'm fine. So I got up and I went to just go sit in a stall for a second and kind of like regroup. And I was not good. Like my brain was just like shot and I was so confused. I feel like a mouse like in a trap trying to find the cheese, like super
Oh, that's a
small.
good yeah.
That's a
Don't
great
That's a
analogy.
great yeah.
That's I'm sure you guys feel like the same thing,
Hmm.
right? And so I was in Walmart and it was around Christmas and there was just like so much red and I was overwhelmed for some reason that there was just so much red. So I called my friend and I was like crying in Walmart. And I was like, there's just so much red and Santa's here. And it was just like, I don't know what I was like, but I was freaking out. And she's like, what is going on? And I was like, I don't know. And I was like crying about all of it. And I got lost in the container section, I guess. I have no idea. She couldn't help me because she's not there. So she had no idea how to direct me out of Walmart. And people were staring at me because I was like holding deodorant, like crying at the deodorant and just all this stuff. And then I have no sense of time. So I thought I was in there for like 2 hours. And apparently I was only in there for like 20 minutes. So I finally get out. I ended up buying a candle and like deodorant and something else. And I didn't need any of that. That's not why I went in. So I wake up I was driving at the time. So I wake up in my truck because like the sun was shining in. It felt super warm. So I fell asleep in the
Mhm.
truck to like a bag full of stuff I didn't need. And, you know, I don't even know what time it was, like 2 hours later. It was a mess. So that's kind of like one of my stories. I was like, what did I buy? How long have I been out? Why am I sleeping in my truck? So it was weird.
No, that's a lot. I can only imagine. I love the mousetrap analogy. And
Yeah.
that's for me it's like a sense of claustrophobic and so she guided you out and you got to buy some candles and deodorant and we've
I
learned I guess
Yep.
so okay, Santa's a trigger maybe. Maybe not. Maybe it's just
Yeah. I
Chris
love
Klaus.
Christmas too. It's like my favorite holiday.
damn.
I know. So
Oh.
weird. Do you guys know what a mudfish is? No, a blobfish. Sorry, a blobfish.
Yeah, the a blowfish?
No, blob.
No. Oh,
Is that
no.
the
I
one where it get it gets nervous, or that's like its defense mechanism? No, that's I'm thinking of the
like a
inkfish.
deep sea creature
We don't
blobfish?
Yeah.
know, Kenzie.
So
We
it's
don't
when
know what
it's
it is. We're just gonna stop guessing.
No.
No.
It's a fish
so
that looks like a blob. Here we go. No, I don't know
Oh,
what
yeah,
it
no,
is.
yes.
100%.
Yeah.
That's what it is. So when it's down where it's supposed to be in the ocean, which is like super far down where the water's like very high
Mhm.
pressurized, it looks like like an actual fish. But then when it comes up to the surface, like if people like mess with it or it actually comes up to the surface, it looks like a blob. It's like just like everything just turns into like mush. And
Ugh.
it's one of the ugliest fishes, like
Uh-huh.
fish you've ever seen.
Yeah.
And I that's like I feel like, you know, you like have a spirit animal or
It's-
whatever. I'm like, that is my like spirit fish or whatever, because that's like what I feel like every time I have a seizure. I feel like a blobfish that just like gets taken out of where it's supposed to be and like put on land.
For
It's like,
sure.
you
I
should
love
Google
that one.
blobfish.
I have seen
I,
this before. I just Googled it right now. We'll put it up for everybody watching this.
Okay.
So this is, ladies and gentlemen, Kenzie O'Connell's spirit animal. Oh my
the
god!
blobfish. Let's see it.
It's the ugliest thing.
I can't. I'll put it up. We'll have to
Okay.
put it up after the fact. This is, man. This thing has some lips. Oh my god! It's got the frowny face.
Oh,
Just a big blob. That's a good. That's a good adjective. It looks pretty well
Right.
put
Well, when
together.
you're going
Otherwise.
through seizures, your brain is just mush, and I feel like
the
that's kind of
blob
what I feel. You just
for
feel like a
sure.
blob. You just can't don't move a lot. You're just kind of like slumped back, and
Oh
Yeah.
I don't
yeah.
know.
I mean, do you ever have you ever suffered, like, for example, a lot of people, like, a dislocated shoulder? You said minor, bumps and bruises and whatnot. But what about? I think it's really resonating with me with how you're describing your spirit animal as a blobfish, because it's like you can't. And Shannon and I, yet we have similar experience. It's just you're so exhausted. You're
Mm-hmm.
just so mentally sort of exhausted, and then you realize when you make any effort to kind of get up, it's almost like a, well, what's the point? I can't
Mm-hmm.
even do that. Just gravity itself becomes,
Yeah.
just
Exhausting.
exhausting. So, I mean, I guess you summed it up with the blobfish, the blob, Kinsey,
Yeah.
aka the blob. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. It's my middle name
What's your
now.
spirit animal, Nate?
Yeah. Oh God, I would say, I like flamingos. I don't know why. I
Oh,
love pink
okay.
flamingos. Always, yeah,
I wouldn't have guessed you saying
yeah,
Yeah, I
flamingos.
no,
would.
yeah,
That would be the last thing,
but
right? Like, huh? That's
Do you
yeah.
interesting.
stand on one leg a lot? Is that
I
why?
Yeah,
do
and eat
frequently, yeah,
shrimp.
before I go to bed, just I eat shrimp and stand on one leg. I don't know. I don't. And I
Well,
What
think that
about you,
because my
Shannon?
mom's,
ladies and gentlemen, Nathan
yeah,
Jones.
exactly. I
Yeah.
think my mom's from Miami. I grew up just seeing a lot of pink flamingos.
Okay.
It just,
What about you,
yeah.
Shannon? Any
I don't know. I'm with you. I really like birds. I don't like birds flying around me. I feel like they're gonna land on me, but I love them. I just
yeah.
love animals in general, but
Yeah.
I do.
But I am. I would have to
I don't. I
say, I love eagles and birds because I've always wanted to fly. That was one thing I wanted to pursue as a career in aviation. But 18
Yeah.
started having
Kind of hard
seizures.
to do and you have seizures.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's maybe not gonna.
yeah, that and eat at restaurants without getting kicked out. I'm sorry, that had nothing to do with seizures. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
Funny
you know what?
story.
It was so funny. You were saying you're about having the seizure in public, or at your club, and I had one. I mean, in the hospital. I was like 5 or 6 months pregnant. I don't remember.
Oh.
And I had so many bruises on my body by the time, right? So they kept me overnight. My
Mm-hmm.
husband comes back. I think we had a 2-year-old at home. I was pregnant with my son. My husband came back the next day, and right when he walked in the room, Nathan's heard this story 1,000 times. It's so funny. But my husband is 6'7", 300 pounds. He used to play in the NFL. He's a big guy,
Okay.
big football player. And the social worker came in the room, even though it was on my chart and
Oh
everything
gosh.
was just like,
Yeah.
okay, we need to meet with you. Like, where'd you get these bruises? I
Right.
mean, and this is the social worker from the hospital. Literally in that moment, Kenzie, my giant husband
Oh
is
no.
walking
Walks
in the
in.
door with flowers, and he got me a bracelet. And I was
Oh
like, oh
gosh.
my gosh. I swear he's not
Like
trying to
sorry about
apologize
what I
or
did to you.
something. He's just loves his wife. Like, but they were looking at him. I'm like, get out right now. So
Yeah.
he did.
Oh gosh. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
it's crazy that I mean, I get that, like, in that case, like, you have to cover all bases, even though, like, it's right there in front of them, just because things
Yeah.
like it's so common for stuff like that to happen.
Totally.
It is, and we don't
But
see a lot of that. I see some people post pictures of bruises and stuff, but I feel like it's just a fraction that I just see out there.
mhm.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's a hard thing to kind of share, but I mean, I've had
Yeah.
several times people will send me those pictures, like, between each other. Hey, this happened today, and
Yeah.
God, it just well, to get out of that, and Mr. Kenzie O'Connell, I think we have a picture of him right here.
Oh, yes,
There
that's my
he
I
husband.
is.
love it.
Is
Yeah,
That's
this
that was our.
let me try to there she is.
What are you
This
doing?
was so tell us about what's your husband's name?
His name is Jimmy.
Jimmy.
Yes, and he's a really big golfer too. He played baseball. He played
Mhm,
in the minors.
mhm,
Um, and now he's just like a huge golfer. And so we just really wanted to do like a golf theme like wedding
mhm.
I
and
love
just
it.
do something small. And that's the punch bowl. So that's like the big putting green that you're seeing.
Wow.
And what are we
Yeah.
seeing here, Kenzie? We're gonna put
Does
you on
Jimmy
blast
have
here.
red
What do
hair?
we?
Is that what am I seeing
So
that?
Oh, red hair.
Or
Are we seeing
no?
the red hair? Is
Does
that red
Jimmy have
hair?
red hair? Or
what
no,
I
he
get,
doesn't have red hair. Does your husband have
so
red hair?
he used to have like super bright red when he was younger. And then now it's like strawberry blonde.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
My men in my life are all have red hair,
Okay.
including my husband, my son, my dogs. They're just
Oh,
red.
my
My
dogs.
daughter's dating a guy with red hair. Like
Oh
everybody
my
has
gosh.
red hair.
Yeah, I call
My
him my little
brother.
Ginge, but he doesn't. He's like, I'm strawberry blonde. And I'm like, okay. And then I dyed my
Okay.
hair red, and he's like, everyone's going to think we're related. And I'm like, no, they're not.
Well, there's that.
That must be West
He,
Coast problems.
Interesting.
he's my favorite, though. Like, he takes such good care of me and drives me
Oh, I
everywhere.
love it.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's so important to have a really strong support. Um,
Yeah.
like especially, and thank you for sharing the screaming in the parking lot story. I think that's why I wanted to share. So shout out to the hubs. That is
For
amazing.
sure.
I
And
think it's harder
then
Well,
on them
because
sometimes than it
yeah,
is
the part
us.
that everybody does, but
Yeah.
sometimes we don't talk about is that. But on a side note, I love your dress. It's beautiful.
Thanks. Yeah, it was
Love,
fun.
love, love.
I
so
just
let's
want
go.
to wear
Well,
it and sit on the couch sometimes.
Right? You should, like they
speaking
do on.
speaking of another dress picture, here we go.
So yeah, you
Is
ruined
that
this photo
I?
for me. I never even thought of it.
I did bring up bridesmaids.
Yes. I
No,
was like,
that's a
oh, it's
beautiful.
so cute. I'm lining up my putt, and then you go, it reminds me of
Yeah.
bridesmaids. I'm
No.
like,
Well,
yeah.
I'm not. It's a
That
great
was
picture.
pretty amazing. Oh
Oh,
my
then there he
God.
is. So that's awesome. So I'm so glad
That is
you.
beautiful. Where's
Yeah, that
that?
is.
So this is Ireland. This is on our honeymoon.
Oh,
And
nice.
this is the first course that we were playing. I think that's Trump. I think that's the Trump course that we played.
Oh, cool.
So
I
pretty.
believe, yeah. So yeah, that was super fun. Oh my gosh, Ireland was one of our favorite places. It was just the best. We played every single day we were there. So
Oh, I
that'll tell you how
bet.
much we like golf. But it
I
was
love
great.
it.
Yeah, I think we gained
When
like
did you
10
get
pounds on that
married?
trip. We got married in 2019.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah,
So it's been a while.
Oh, right before
yeah,
COVID.
right before every shit hit the fan. So
Oh
yeah,
God.
Yeah.
we got lucky.
So
Yeah,
was that something? So I mean, I'd like to transition a little bit, talking about getting married, and then you also shared some pictures that were a little more intimate in your personal life that I'm assuming
yeah.
that you brought to the marriage. We've heard that your husband, how supportive he was and is, and yeah, I think it'd be great to touch upon some of the communication, between that and your support system. When for example, you're here, it looks like you're doing an EEG, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I was supposed to do in like a 3-day EEG, kind of like they wanted me to do like stay in so they can like,
Hmm.
do all the stuff. But
Mhm.
Hmm.
I was, a starving, I think I was 22 or 3 here. I think I was 23. Starving 23-year-old, trying to survive and pay rent. So I was like, I can't do it, I have to work. So I went to work like this at the golf course. You can see I'm in the golf cart on the right.
I
And
mean,
so I wore
you're
scarves
like,
around my head and
I've never one time looked like that in my entire life while I was getting an EEG. So
oh,
I'm just saying,
thanks.
Kenzie, awesome. You look beautiful. Like,
Thank you so
believe
much. I
me.
appreciate that. I was it's painful to put that tape on. It's so tight and
Yeah,
it hurt, but and
for sure.
I'm not gonna lie, I can't say that I wasn't embarrassed going out. I mean, that first night when I got it done, I I did not want to go anywhere, and it took me a minute to just be okay with going to work and being just owning it. And I had a really nice, I worked at a private course, and I had a really nice member that lent me some scarves because I did not own that. so,
Oh, is
so I
that a
had some,
scarf that's wrapped on the
yeah,
right?
the
Oh.
scarf around my head because it looks like the tape on the left is like what it looked like, and then the scarf
Oh.
was, they just tied scarves around my head. But it took me a lot to just suck it up and go. But yeah, I mean, it's challenging to do that kind of stuff. And I was, when I was going through it right here, I met my husband shortly after I got this done, I think, because he was a member at the course that I was working at this time. And that's how we met. I was very stubborn. Like, if I could go back and talk to myself in this process, I definitely would have done things a little differently because, I wasn't listening to anybody, and I refused. I think even sometimes after this last seizure, I started to accept the fact that I have epilepsy, I think, a little bit more, even though I am trying to spread awareness for it and do all that stuff.
Sure.
I have to admit that it is definitely hard for me sometimes to even admit that I do have it because I feel like we're sometimes not even present when we're going through it. So it's something that I feel sometimes it's hard for us to be like, well, yeah, of course we have it, even though like we should be okay with it. We should be accepting of it. We should, we've had it for so long. You guys have had it forever. But it's like, even though we've had it for a long time, we're not, it's, the people that are around us can accept it, I think, before we can accept it because they see us going through it. They're the ones
Sure.
helping us. We're sometimes not even present. And then it takes us a while to recover. But other than that, we're like, I don't remember anything except for the next morning when I woke up from that seizure I just had. And I'm like, well, everyone's like, you need to go to the doctor. You need to figure out your medication. And I'm like, why am I in a hurry? Like, I don't remember anything.
Yeah.
And so I think it's like almost harder for us to accept because it's like, I don't
Sure.
remember half the things that are going
Well,
on.
and I
That's such a
think there's
great
a
point.
little bit of the like hope. We are constantly have a little bit of hope in our head that like one day, and I still say this, it's been 46 years, Kenzie. I'm like, oh, maybe like my next seizure, I'll hit my head and it'll just go out, like just like
Yeah.
it came on in, I don't know. But there's a little hope that like, oh, I haven't had a seizure for however long. For me, it was 7 years. And then I
Mhm.
had like horrible seizures a year ago,
Mhm.
this past September. And I think there was like, oh, well, maybe this is it. Like maybe I'm never going to have a seizure again in my entire life. And so I feel like we hang on to that hope a little bit, and our loved
Yeah.
ones that watch us have these seizures, like you said, are just
Mhm.
kind of like, yeah, you're a person that has seizures and we all get
Yeah.
it, just like what you said. But I don't think I think that we're just very hopeful too. I think as
Yeah.
people, when we want to believe that it will at some point, we'll find a cure or it will go away. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's such
I
that
100% agree.
I was just going to say that's such a great point. The difference in experience between a loved one who's actually watching you go through it and
Mhm.
yourself, two different angles. I
Mhm.
just spoke with this father whose daughter is 12, just had her first seizure 3 weeks ago. And one of the things I told him, I was like, just know that that seizure was probably way worse for you at first than it was for her. And I hadn't
Mhm.
at that point talked to him about how, you know, in the conversation, and he told me a little bit about it. But and then the terms of reckoning, I've never heard anybody say it like that, but it's like for me, it's like going through this football game. You're just completely exhausted and not being able to kind of see it
Mhm.
objectively and be actively present in the moment. You realize you're just reacting to what was described to you.
Mhm.
So I think that's a great point you brought up. Just kind of
For
shine,
sure.
yeah. I just wanted to shine an extra light on that because it is.
I
It's two very different from like you. Like nobody knows you're screaming at your husband and pushing him away,
yeah.
and you don't know what's going on. So
Yeah,
how
exactly.
are unless you get the security camera footage from that? I mean, who knows?
Oh my
That's so
gosh, I
unique.
would not want to see that. They can keep
Can you
it.
imagine? Yeah, we are like, mm-mm, we're not
Yeah.
releasing that to anybody
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah.
Can you tell like when were you first diagnosed? What's that story? What was
So
your
I
how did you
guess,
start playing golf? There's like a lot of things I want to know. I know I
yeah.
have a ton of questions. So,
Yeah, so I was first diagnosed when I was 21, but I guess I've had my seizures my whole life. So like mine were, as you guys probably know, they were petite malls. So like I would be in class and I would just stare at the wall or something like that, and I wasn't there, and I didn't know those could be seizures. I think like I've heard like a lot of people get misdiagnosed as like ADHD and get
yep,
put on the wrong
totally.
medication and stuff
Yep.
like that, and so I guess I was doing that a lot growing up, and I just thought it was because I wasn't interested in school, and I think that was a lot to do with it too. But I think, I was having little seizures throughout my life, and then they turned into grand malls when I was 21, and I was living in Georgia at the time, which probably couldn't get farther away from Nebraska, so that was good. Um, and I ended up having to move home to my family and kind of, just everything. Like I said, independence. You're like on your own. You're 21. You're doing your thing, and you're driving, and you're working, and all this stuff. And then I just like everything just flipped a switch and moved home and all that stuff. But yeah, so that's
Oh,
21 was
that
a
was
was
hard. Oh, that must have been really
yeah.
hard.
Yeah, it was definitely a change, and then I definitely went into, I can't say that I was like, oh, I've got this, like totally okay. I'm gonna handle everything perfectly. I went into a little bit of a downward spiral and lost a little bit of weight and, got a little sad but I mean everything
Yeah.
turned out okay. Um and then I started golfing because uh, again, school wasn't my thing, and I lived in a really small town, and there's not a whole lot to do. So I picked up golf, and I ended up being pretty good at it. Um, and I started winning a lot of tournaments, and I became the number two golfer in Nebraska. So I was like, this is awesome. If I do want to go to college, this is kind of maybe my way to do it, get some scholarships and try to take it somewhere. And so, yeah, I mean, I started just practicing and playing all the time. And my hometown's great. I just knew I didn't want to stay in my hometown. It's a great place to be raised. It's just, I wanted to venture out. I really wanted to do different things. And I knew I didn't want to go to the same college that everybody in my hometown goes to, which is UNL. Which is not a bad thing. UNL is a great school, but I just wanted to do something different. Like I wanted to
Sure.
break the mold and go somewhere and travel and figure out, different things that I wanted to do. So yeah, no, it just
Did you
worked really
play
hard.
golf in high school? Did your
Yeah.
like high school have a team and you played and
Yep.
that's
Yeah. We had a
awesome.
girls team, and yeah, so it was awesome. Just really worked hard and did all the stuff I needed to do, and yeah, packed up my little convertible and moved to Arizona when I was 18 and figured it all out.
So
Wow.
you just have this get out of town spirit, Irish spirit, rebellious spirit,
Yeah.
and then
Oh
like,
my.
but it's so weird. Like, but you want to settle and you play golf.
Yeah.
Is that is that like
Yeah.
is that like something that like evened you out or something, or were you attracted to just that? Because I don't know. I don't. Is that a good question? I suck at golf. I don't know. I just do. I will.
Um,
I'll drive the golf cart for the homies. You know,
What are you
we'll
saying
get it.
like
sorry,
It's
my
just
dog is.
interesting. I don't know. I was like I wanted to play football. I wanted to go smash my head into people. You know, whatever. It was pretty
Yeah.
just amped up, and I just I'm just interested. What do you love about golf the most? Like, is it tranquil? Is it There's a lot of thought. There's a lot of strategy, and I hear it's a lot of mind over matter, right? Like when it comes to
Yeah.
having to hit the ball and get to it.
I think it's the art of it. Like I love
Mm.
art. I love I think chipping is an art. I think putting is an art. I can't say that I'm great at you have to be able to really read the course, I think. Like I love reading greens. Like I think I'm good at that, which is again like I think I can see that. I love teaching the sport. I think I'm really good at again seeing the golf swing, which is fun. Um, I'm not good at managing my game. My husband is very good at telling me that I need to work on that. So I think like there's certain things and certain aspects of golf
Wait,
that
what does that even mean? What is managing the game?
so when you manage, so say like you're getting ready to tee the ball up on a par five and the tee box is shooting you off to the right. It's something that, like, you need to step back and go, okay, I need to realize that the tee box is shooting me off to the right, but this is a dog leg left. So I need to realize like I need to play maybe a little bit farther left. There's no trees that are bothering me, so I can, hit it this way.
Sure.
And then it puts me into a good spot to hit it into the green because the
Sure.
flag's on the left hand side or the right hand side. It's ways of knocking off strokes, because obviously the best thing to do is get the ball in the hole with the least amount of strokes, and whoever can do that the best is the better golfer, right? I mean,
It sounds so easy when you say it like that. Oh, this
it's
is,
not an easy game.
I know. God.
I mean, I've been playing since I was 5, and I still, like, people are like, oh, well, you're so good. And I'm like, I've been playing this for a very long time. And even then, like, I suck on so many days. Like, I'll go out and shoot my best round, and the next day I looks like I've never touched the club before. So it's like, I mean, I think that's another fun aspect of the game is like, you're never going to be perfect at it. You're always going to be working on something, and then you change one thing in your swing and it affects something else in your swing, and then you're trying to figure that out. It's such a puzzle, and I think that's fun to always be working on something. You're never going to be, I mean, look at Tiger Woods. Like, yeah, he's amazing, but he even has days where you're like, what the heck?
Sure.
Like, you're never going to be the best or perfect
Yeah.
at it. And I think that's like the imperfection of it is like what I like the most. Is
That's cool. That's
Yeah.
that's
it's
great.
a very
That's such
humbling
cool-
sport.
for sure. That's a very cool way to put it too. I like
Yeah.
that. Has your epilepsy ever affected your golf?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's another reason I like it though too, is because I like smelling the grass and I like being out in the sun, and I think it's a very calming thing for me, and I like being around people and getting to know people and um that kind of thing. But yeah, I had a seizure. Actually, I was with my husband and his dad, and I went down to read a putt, kind of like the picture in my wedding dress. That's what I was doing, but I wasn't in a wedding dress. I went down to read the putt, and I just like fell over, and my husband thought I was joking. He's like, oh, ha, ha, like, and then I didn't get up, and he was like, oh, okay, she's serious. So he like went over, and I had to, they had to kind of like carry me back to the golf cart. And I'm one of those, I'm sure you guys do this too. I've heard that it's kind of common for you to kind of go, no, I'm fine. Like, everything's fine. Or, no, I have so much to do today. Like, I have to keep at it. Or,
Sure.
just like such a
Oh,
denial
hell
of,
yeah. Hell yeah.
yeah. I,
Denial
I,
City. Hell yeah.
yeah, I have so much denial. I'm like, instead of just being like, no, I really need to go home and take a nap and get under the blankets and get warm or something like that, I could probably recover so much faster, but I just don't want to ruin anybody's day. I don't want to ruin
Yeah.
my day. Like, just so much
Yeah.
denial. So I'm like, no, it's fine. I'll ride around in the golf cart and I'll be fine here in like a couple holes. And then I'm just like, bleh, in the golf
Sure,
cart.
I know.
Like,
Oh
why?
God. Yeah,
There
I feel
is,
that
it
so
is, you
hard.
know what? It was so funny. I was doing a little piece for because today's World Mental Health Day.
Mhm.
And I was just, as people with epilepsy, I mean, we're so affected. It affects us physically, but mentally so much. And just what you said were some of the things that I hit on. I was like, there's anxiety, surrounding, there's guilt,
Mhm.
ruining, like my husband, right? He's picked me up off the ground so many times, just like what you're saying, your husband. And it's
Yeah.
just like, oh, I feel bad, like, or depression after you have a
Yeah.
seizure, or whatever. And there's just so
Mhm.
much. And it is. And I, for whatever, I'm the same way. Nathan's the same way. No, 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 I'm fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes for me, it's hard to discern, is this an aura or is this just because I'm hungry and I haven't,
Yeah.
or I'm getting like
Yeah.
an extreme case of the hangries.
So do you
Yeah.
just eat every time just
Yeah,
to be
I just gotta
safe?
eat. Just gotta eat.
Yeah.
Just got my
I'm
plate of
like,
pizza.
I
Yeah, just
mean,
gotta eat. Be like, guys, let's go
Does
eat.
does food kind of like cause you to have seizures? Like, not getting enough food in your system cause you to have seizures?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like it's definitely another common thread has been just, you know, not eating and being dehydrated. You know,
Yeah.
that stress is kind of my bigger um, factor, like the main
Hmm.
thread. And I will say dehydration and I will say too, like not having something in the stomach for a while. Again, like there's
Yeah.
certain things I do that I think it's a similar feeling to like me
Hmm.
about ready to go down that rabbit hole and everything turned black. Like for like when I go into Target, if I'm ever around like a makeup aisle that just like I don't know what is up with Target's makeup aisle, but those lights
Hmm.
hit different.
Oh,
They
yeah.
like
Oh, that makes sense.
I can feel them.
Yeah.
And every time I walk through Target, I'm just like, ugh,
Yeah.
no, bye. I was actually there a few weeks ago with my girlfriend, and I was like, hey, I'm going to the car, which I've
Yeah.
gotten better about when I've gotten older,
Yeah.
and and because it is hard. You don't want to ruin it. You want to just be in every moment with every loved one, right? You want to be in the moment
Yeah.
with them.
Sure.
And it does take a bit of, I've gotten better at that. I feel like only maybe the past 2 years, it's just like, you know what? I feel this way. Learning to be a little more unapologetic, be like, hey, if I want to deal, I'm
Hmm.
going to have to just go sit in the car and just watch stupid TikTok videos for a second?
Yeah. Well, and
That's the
in
other thing
doing
though
that,
that
you're
I
probably
Yeah.
saving the whole,
sorry, Shane.
like rest of the day too, right? And you're helping yourself. It's a hard thing to learn in life,
Yeah.
Nathan.
It takes a
Just
while. I've done the same thing. Like if I'm like traveling by myself or something like that, my husband's first thing he says is like, if you go to dinner, just if there's a table that's wobbling, like make sure you just tell people like it's okay to say, do you have something to put under the table, or just stand up for yourself or say something. It's okay to do that, and because I never do, I'll just be like, oh, it's fine, don't worry about it. I don't want to be a pain or anything, and it's like, well, just say it.
yeah.
So
Such an interesting trigger to
I
me.
know that is. Yeah, I haven't heard that one before. Is that
I
like, that's kind of
haven't.
like Alice in Wonderland type, like
Yeah,
auras.
Almost.
So when you
I don't
talk
know.
to people, how are you? Do you like? You're obviously an amazing epilepsy ambassador. You're here. You're doing this podcast, and we appreciate it. And it's just so important for people to hear your perspective and learn. How do you deal with bringing? We're obviously for purposes of the show, like really getting into the weeds here. But when you only have like 2 minutes, a minute to kind of explain the reasons, or maybe you don't. Like for example, the waiter that has a wobbly table, or if you're in a car with somebody and you feel like the car is moving backwards, do you like? I guess my question is, when is it too much information? Like when is it TMI to share about the reasons that you don't want the wobbly table, or like that example in the car? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if if there's an opportunity to sit at the bar, and I
Mm-hmm.
know that sounds like,
Yeah.
oh, let's sit at the bar, let's have a drink. It's
No,
like
we
if
get it. Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
most stable place in the whole restaurant, right? Like the
Mm-hmm.
bar's not going to be wobbly. So if there's an opportunity to sit at the bar, I'll just say like, do you guys care if we just sit at the bar? It's just the easiest way to do it.
Oh,
Um,
nice. Oh,
and my husband and I figured that out. Like we just normally, like if it's just the two of us, we'll just sit at the bar. And people have asked before in the past, like, why do you guys always sit at the bar? And so like we'll bring it up if that's like a question. Um, I normally don't bring it up unless people ask. If they're
sure.
truly like interested and they really want to know, then like, yeah, I'll bring it up and I'll answer as many questions as they want. And I'm more than happy to talk about it with people. But if they don't bring it up, I really don't say anything. Uh, and I feel like fixing a table, a wobbly table, like nobody wants to like have food and lean on it and the table move. Like that's not fun, right? Like
Yeah, I know.
everybody wants a stable table. So I don't really need to like have a reason if I just say, can you fix the table? Sometimes I'll tell the waiter like, hey, excuse me, like, is there a way we can really make this table more stable? Or if you have a better one, that'd be great. And just sometimes I'll be like, I have epilepsy, so that I can have a seizure from it. Like I'll do that sometimes.
Yeah.
Um, I the other day I was with my mom at brunch and this table was awful and we just had to get rid of everything on the table, water, everything, and try to get it as stable as possible. And we just had our food, and as long as that was on there, it was fine. Like I didn't have any issues, but it just is the liquid on it, and I don't know what it is. It's like that's what causes me to but the food's okay, and it's knives, like the reflection of a knife, like it starts
Mm,
moving like that. I don't, I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me either. Let me tell you.
right.
Did that take you a while to figure that out, that that's what was causing your seizures? Or was that something that your doctor said right away? Or it's just so interesting to me. And like I said, I mean,
Yeah, that doesn't seem like
between
a.
Nathan and I, we've been in the community, the epilepsy world community, nonprofits, different foundations for years and years and years. And I've never heard that as a trigger.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
Are we frozen?
I think we have a frozen situation.
Frozen situation.
Let it go. Let it
Let
go.
it go.
Can you hear us, Mackenzie?
She might be able to. She might not. Oh,
Oh,
did you do that?
I did not.
Oh, all right.
I was email her. No, I
Okay.
mean that's yeah. I've never heard that, and I love your question because I have no idea. I wonder how long it would take to realize that reflections of a knife wobbling on a table.
Well, right, because it's not part of the typical category, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
it's flashing lights, or it's the light. I mean, flashing lights, or like the lights you were saying, um, altitude, even alcohol, lack of sleep. It's just totally different. It's like in its own category. Even altitude for me, when I tell people that's a trigger for, and a lot of people are like altitude, like they have never heard that, but it is one. So
I'm just gonna tell
sorry, I was
altitude.
texting for a minute on there because they texted me from my
Who
son's
texted?
school.
Oh, is
They
everything
were
okay?
texting me from my son's school, and he fell and hit his head
Oh,
on
is
a
he okay?
metal box. He is okay. They did a concussion protocol, and he does not have one. But I was
Oh,
reading a
good.
couple of text messages. Um,
No, read those. I'm gonna bring
so I'm good.
Mackenzie.
Hi, sorry, I'm not sure what
Hi.
happened.
No,
Oh,
it just froze,
you just
and then
froze.
we started singing. The next logical thing to do was to sing Elsa's hit song from the Disney movie Frozen.
Frozen. Let
Oh,
it.
hold on.
Oh, what now? What? We can hear you.
There we go.
Oh, we can hear you.
Hey, a
I'm
little
sad I missed
electrical
that. I'm
situations.
kind of
Oh
upset
yeah.
that I wasn't there for that.
Let it go. Let it
Let
go.
it go.
That's my
Yeah.
go-to song if I'm at a game and
And
the
what?
opposing team gets rowdy and they start talking smack. Like I was at a Lakers basketball or Clippers basketball game and they
Oh
were just
yeah.
talking smack. I just turn around and I just sing "Let It Go." Just like
Yeah.
get it out, boys. Like you're gonna lose, just get it out. It's okay.
Yeah.
You know.
That's
Let it go. I like it.
Yeah. Um.
Um, no, but I was asking, did that take a while for your doctors or you to realize that that was a trigger? Or was that something that your doctors told you right away? Or because it doesn't kind of fall in the normal category for triggers, right? It's not lights, it's not.
maybe that's why they're all they're dog prone. I don't know.
Oh yeah, it
Yeah.
could go back to.
Oh,
Oh.
I'm not sure. I guess
interesting.
I don't
I
really
guess they just
understand it.
probably did your scans and read your EEGs and went from there,
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah, I honestly I have no idea. They didn't really tell me. So when I was having really, really bad seizures, like they were constant, they were throughout the day, they were 6 to 7, like that kind of thing. I didn't have like really any triggers that I could pinpoint. It was just out of the blue, just hit me. I had no trigger really anything. And then when they started kind of slowing down a little bit, my medication kind of started helping. Um, I mean, I can't really say slow down, but just like enough for me to kind of be more aware of what was going on. I started realizing some of the things that were causing maybe things to happen. That's when I realized it was I'd have issues with mirrors and lights sometimes, but lights maybe hitting like glass or
Yeah.
like broken glass. Like there was this restaurant downtown Denver, and they had this like glass behind the hostess stand, but it was like this unique broken like artsy glass, and a cop and an ambulance drove by and the lights hit the glass, but it like reflected funny off the glass and came into the restaurant. And that's what caused me to have this. It wasn't really the lights themselves, it was like the way that it came through the glass, like those kinds of things. Like it was just, so I don't know, it's very confusing, but it has taken me a long time to really narrow down certain things that really affect me.
Yeah.
Um,
What about and I'm as you're talking, I'm kind of thinking about a couple of instances where I've been somewhere and I don't haven't felt like I was going to have a seizure, but I felt like, wow, that's like kind of making me feel like I shouldn't be looking at it.
right,
And
yeah.
one of them, sometimes it's fires. Like if there's a
Oh,
fire in a
yeah.
fireplace.
Is it the
Uh,
actual fire, or is it the weird like glossy stuff that comes
I
off the
think it's
top?
the weird gloss on top of it. And there's
That
like,
affects me.
yeah, so that's so funny now that we're actually having this conversation. I'm thinking like there's actually a couple of
Yeah.
times that I'm feeling like I can, but it hasn't put me, it hasn't, it's just made me feel like I shouldn't be looking at that,
Yeah.
like I don't, and it's kind of, it, maybe it's not an aura, but just maybe it's just something that's
Yeah, just kind of
more
bothering
than
you.
what I understand that's
Yeah.
telling me, get
Yeah.
your
So that
butt
really bothers
away
me
from
'cause
that fire.
it's almost like a fun mirror to me. So like that stuff bothers me because it's distorting the stuff behind it. So
Sure.
like that bothers me. High vibration bothers me. Like sometimes even brushing my teeth with like a
Mm.
toothbrush, that like I hate the sound of people brushing their teeth. Like hate it. I don't know why. It's just like it's like nails on a chalkboard for me. I can't, like, people when they're in the movies when they brush their teeth, my husband mutes it for me because like I just can't handle it.
Yeah,
I don't
well,
know
and
why.
in the movies they make it so like you can
Oh,
hear every little
I know.
sound.
Every tooth. I'm like, okay, come on. It's so bad. I don't know what it is, but it's just like,
Me too. That was awesome.
I feel that way
anyway.
about people eating cereal. That's like a
Oh,
situation.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really
Isn't that weird? We have like
Oh.
weird little, yeah, I don't know.
interesting.
It's
Ugh.
not a
Yeah,
trigger thing,
there's a
but yeah.
a name for the sound if you can't handle sounds, if you're really sensitive to sounds in
Hmm.
general, like all there's a name. It's like an actual disorder. And I think as I get older that I have it more and more.
Oh no, that's
That's
that
called
might just be
marriage.
getting older. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's no. It's my yeah, kids, marriage, dogs. It's all of it.
I've heard that gets worse with when you're like you have kids and you're married and stuff like. I mean, I don't know. I'm
I
not
don't
there yet.
know. I'm used to it. I'm used to it with my husband. I'm used to it with my kids usually because I think
Yeah.
they hear it all the time. But anyway, that's so interesting.
Yeah, I have lots of weird ones. They're just I could probably list like a bunch more. My husband's been very helpful that way. I actually found out that like I know like sleep is very obvious, but I found out that I was never getting into like a deep sleep.
Sure.
My brain was never really coming to like rest at night, and I started taking melatonin, and that helped a lot because I
Oh,
started to,
melatonin. Love it.
Yeah,
yeah,
love it.
That helps.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
What
that's helped
medicine
me
do
a
you
lot.
take?
So again, me being very stubborn, I didn't want to mix any medications or add to medications. So I was on Topamax for a long
Oh
time,
yeah.
like the most highest
Hmm.
milligram of Topamax. I was like, they wouldn't add any more to it, but they wanted to add another medication. And I was like, no, I'm fine. I'm fine. Like, I'm not going to do it. I
Oh,
don't want
okay.
any side effects. I'm like, I'm good. But
Sure.
they call it Dopamax, like very
Yep.
makes you, I wouldn't take it in the morning because it made me very like
Yeah.
just
Most
out
of
of
them
it.
do. Yeah.
Yeah. I only took it at night and I think I was taking it wrong. So now I'm on this other medication. I forgot the name of it because I
That's
just started it.
Oh,
okay.
That's not good.
happens.
Probably pay more attention. But I just
Did you
started it.
start it because of this last seizure?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to be on like, I think at the end of the day, they want to keep me on Topamax, which is 400 milligrams, and they want to add me on to another 400.
Okay.
So at the end of this next year,
I'm
something
so,
like that.
I'm so sorry. Do you guys hear that?
Yeah, it's a little scratchy.
So sorry. Hold on.
So hopefully I'll be all good soon with everything,
Oh,
and
that's
then
good.
I want to eventually wean off of the Topamax.
Oh, okay. That's good. Yeah, Topamax. I was on Topamax when I was pregnant. Um,
Shannon,
because
Really?
Shannon, really quick, can you just check your mic cable that's plugged in and turn your mic around? Turn your mic around talking to that.
is that like
Yeah,
this?
yeah, that's way better.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, no, good. Yeah, just watch your voice.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Topamax, go.
Topamax. Yeah, when I was
They
pregnant, because Nathan and I both take Depakote, which you absolutely can't be on when you're pregnant. And
so
so,
they told me that I should never get pregnant on Topamax.
well, probably. I mean, at the time for me, so my oldest is 15 and then 13. So I'm not sure exactly what they would say. I mean, at the time they were saying there was like minor um deformities that,
Yeah,
could be caused by Topamax. And
yeah.
my son was actually born with this curve in his ear. He didn't have it. So he looked like Dr. Spock from Star Wars
Oh,
or Star Trek.
yeah.
But they just put little molds in his ears and it's just cartilage, and so, he's fine.
Fixed it. Oh,
Um
good.
but my daughter that we know of didn't wasn't born with any, and then my youngest is adopted, and so, but I was on Topamax for both pregnancies.
Huh.
I lost a ton. I didn't gain weight. It's kind of I lost weight mostly. I only gained like 15 pounds with each pregnancy.
Yeah, they actually
Um,
use it for weight loss,
yeah,
which is,
so
I was
that's
like,
what
okay,
how it
yeah.
worked for me for a few months while I was pregnant. My husband, I told you, was super tall. So my kids were like 2 feet, literally
Mhm.
24 inches and 5 pounds. I mean, they were not that cute because they were so skinny and they were just like, oh, and bright red hair just sticking
Yeah.
up, like, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. And then, pointy ears. I was like, I'm sorry, babe. Like, there's not that many pictures of him as a newborn. Um, He's so cute now. But yeah, so I was on Topamax when I was pregnant, which is so
Huh.
funny. But I don't know what they're recommending now instead of Topamax, or because I'm on Depakote, and Depakote you absolutely can't be on.
No.
Yeah.
But and all of I mean, so there's so many. I don't know if like Zonegran is one of them, but there's a lot more meds that are out now. I just
So
don't
many.
know how they interact that, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't they must have found that it's causing more than just minor deformities, while you're since the time that I've had kids, which is why they're saying don't take this while you're pregnant.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I was told, anyways, that like I shouldn't be on Topamax. Like I should get
Yeah.
off of it if I want to have children. And so I was like, okay, so yeah,
I would
the
be
medication that
curious
I'm
to
going
see
on.
what the alternative is
Yeah.
out
I don't
there.
know. I- what I get like lost about with like neurologists is like it does change so much. And I didn't have like the best first neurologist. Again, denial. And I was just trying to find the closest neurologist to where I lived so I could take myself to my appointments. I wasn't really trying
Right.
too hard at that point. I should have tried a little harder. Um, but the first thing he said to me was, "We know very little about the human brain." And I was like, perfect. That's making
Yeah.
me feel very confident with what I'm doing right now. So, I mean, it's definitely difficult, I feel like, with neurologists. And I mean, I really wanted to go to, I mean, I didn't even know there was an option to have find an epileptologist. Like, I didn't even know that those existed at the time that I was going through everything. And I think that's another reason why like I really enjoy spreading awareness and everything, is because I feel like there's a lot of people like me that just get diagnosed. And I mean, I thought I had a brain tumor. I didn't even know you could just get epilepsy. So
Right? I
Uh,
know. There's so
yeah,
much.
and without how little is known, like I feel when I was first started having seizures, just like, oh, take this one. Oh, it doesn't work. Oh, take that one. Oh, take this
mm-hmm.
one. So, well, we
Yeah.
really appreciate you coming on and sharing all of your story, Kenzie,
Yes,
and
thank
Yes.
you.
getting it
And
out
Fun
there.
to
I
you know
think,
chat.
what?
and
We will let you go. We've kept you, but I always like to ask at the end, like, if there's one thing that you could tell people with epilepsy that are listening or watching, something that you want them to know, what would it be?
Somebody that got diagnosed with epilepsy, what would I tell them?
uh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what piece of advice do you have as a person with epilepsy? Because here you are and you have a big platform and you're using it and that's amazing. And we're super excited. But if you had, 30 seconds to say something to somebody with epilepsy, to a person newly diagnosed or not, but
Mhm.
what would that be? What would that one thing be?
I always say, well, my favorite thing to say is, I've kind of stuck with the same things, is your brain's like a snowflake. So don't treat it the same as everybody else, because you're going to have, like, don't compare what you're going through with somebody else, and vice versa. Like, it's going to be different. Your story's going to be different than everybody else's. And it's going to be challenging. So you're going to have up and down days, and that's okay. Don't expect yourself to be a rock star every single day going through this, because it is going to be hard. Um, and there are some days that you're going to feel great, and that take those and run with them. And there's some days that you're just going to be really down and sad, and that's okay. And let yourself go through those days, because you're okay to do that. But try your hardest to stay positive through it, because I think this can be a very depressing, anxious thing to go through. I know that we've talked about the anxiety and the depression that can go with this condition, and that can be very hard. Um, so yeah, I always say try and stay positive. I know it's harder or easier said than done, but that's a really big thing I try to strive to do. I don't do a great job of it sometimes, but sometimes I'm good at it. And yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. And just lean on people that are around you, and share information. Don't be afraid to be okay and accepted of like what you have. The more you talk about it, the better you feel. Don't hold it inside. Because I did that for a long time, and it's not a good thing. It just helps to talk about it. So that's what I would say.
I love that. And especially just as I already said before, because it's World Mental Health Day, like you touched on so many of the key things just in general, but how that really comes back to a person with, a chronic disease is huge. And
Hmm.
I loved every bit of what you had to say. So that was perfect and
Awesome.
encouraging. And
Kenzie,
thank you.
Kenzie, Kenzie, woo!
Woo,
Thanks
woo,
for having me,
woo.
guys.
Yeah, no, thank
Thank
you so much.
you.
Thank you much for
It
all
was,
that. It was so interesting to learn more about your background
yeah,
and everything, how you deal. So we really look forward to sharing this. Um,
good.
I'll probably just kind of edit it up a little, throw it out there, then get going on the socials and whatever. But we're really excited to that, and the Steps Towards Zero program. We're going to be following that too. Then more
Cool.
people are joining that, and yeah, we should definitely do a follow up here in
Yeah,
like a few months or
Thank
something.
you so
Stay in
much.
touch to see how you're
I would
going,
love that.
and we'll just
And good
check
luck.
in.
Good luck on your new medicine. That's
Yeah.
kind
Thank
of
you.
exciting.
Yeah.
It's always
Hopefully,
a
cross my
thing.
fingers it goes better. But yeah, thank you guys so much.
Right?
I really appreciate it. It was great meeting you and
Yeah.
talking with you. And I would love to, whenever you want to do it again, this is fun.